not being alone, right? Because anytime we're attempting something new, even if it's better, it feels uncomfortable. And so our tendency is to slide, as everyone does, quickly back into the old pattern because that's the path of least resistance. And so when we're not alone in it, I think it adds vitality to the changes we want to make. So, and it helps to propel us.
And you know that
done.
This is Steve Arterburn. Do you feel like your marriage is done? New Life can help. We believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life. Our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Intensive is February 16th to the 18th in Orange County, California. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to experience a new level of intimacy and have a great marriage.
The transformation, phenomenal. And it's transformed our lives so much.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
welcome back. You know, it won't be long and Valentine's Day will be here. And if you are married and you are looking for the perfect Valentine's Day gift, you could take your spouse to the Intimacy and Marriage Weekend in Southern California. It's better than flowers and candy, and it could have a lifelong
Last
impact. Yeah, on your marriage and on your family. And so if you, make a plan that's what you're going to do this year for your marriage, that it will make an impact in so many lives. And we're so grateful to be able to be there. You can go to newlife.com for all the details.
Becky, I attended that weekend years ago now, and my husband and I still use those principles, especially Mylan and Kay's Comfort Circle, on a weekly, if not daily basis. And it gets us through our ruptures, our disconnections, our hurt feelings. What they teach at that weekend will last you a lifetime, and it will safeguard your marriage, folks.
Well, there you go. See, if Alice says it, it must be true. You don't have to take it from me. Our speakers there are JJ West, who's also our speaker at Every Man's Battle, and Laura Manja McDonald, who also speaks at our Restore. So you've got some people who know some things, who have led some couples through some great trials into this new life. And we just want you to be there. And whether your marriage is in a place where it's pretty good, it can be better. If you are in a crisis and you need some help, we can help you as well. We just want you to be there. We're going to go to the calls, and we're going to keep taking calls today at 1-800-229-3000. And we're going to talk with Irish, who's calling us from Miami, Florida, and he's listening on his iPhone. Hi, Irish. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for what you guys doing. I just have a question. I'm trying to navigate a situation in my marriage with my husband. He has a son, and he is very involved in heavy metal and rock and roll and all that stuff. I started researching. I really don't like what I found. I found very famous people saying that they sold their soul to the devil to be rich and really ugly stuff. I was telling that to my husband. I just want to know, for example, he just invited us to a concert in April. And my husband was telling me that. I say, I don't want to go, but if you want to go, you can go. But my husband doesn't want to go along. I say, okay, I will stay on the hotel and you can go. I don't want to be holier than thou. I don't know what to do. To be honest with you, I don't like what I heard. Every time that he come to visit us, he wear really ugly clothes, like very ugly pictures. I don't know what to do.
And Irish, this is your stepson. And did you raise him during his childhood at all?
No, when I married my husband, he was 13.
And he never lived with you?
Not permanently. He used to come and spend the weekend on and off.
Okay. And how would you describe the quality of your relationship and your connection with your stepson?
I would say interesting, because his mother always involved, and she wasn't too happy of my husband married. I don't know why. And his mother have a lot of influence on him. I just asked for respect when he came to our household, because he was very disrespectful toward his father. And I remember in one occasion he yelled at him, and I thought he was going to punch him because he's very tall, even though he's very young. And I got very scared. And in that occasion, I just said to him, you know what? From that door outside, you can do whatever you want with your dad. From this door inside, this house, you're going to respect him. And from that day, things start switching. He respects me, but I always see his mother's shadow in everything that he does, So I just keep myself pretty. I gave my opinion, but I try to be more than a friend, but not get too involved. It's kind of complicated, the situation.
Your fear certainly is understandable, because that image of heavy metal and the clothes he's worn and the disrespect you've experienced, that's frightening. And there can be evil connected with that world, with that style of music. So I think your radar being sensitive to it is completely understandable. Would you tell us, is he a believer?
Well, when he was younger, my husband and I, we used to take him to church with us, but I guess he used to go because he was younger and he wasn't an adult yet. But once he turned 18, it was another ordeal. We always keep inviting him, but he always was saying, no, I'm busy, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And he never went back to church.
So go ahead, Jill.
Irish, you're in a difficult position. Stepmom is the lowest rung on the totem pole in terms of parenting. I actually hear you handling things pretty well. It sounds like you've been firm with him, but at the same time loving and trying to have relationship. And here's the thing, whenever there is divorce or a blended family, you're going to have a degree of brokenness. And that is part of the package that you step into. And so because this isn't your son, you didn't raise him, of course his mother is going to have an influence on him, and that is going to feel like an intrusion in your family. And that is just part of it. I don't think you have to like what he likes. I think his behavior is more important in terms of what the focus is. If he's, like you said, if he's disrespectful, that's not okay. A lot of kids go through this music phase and like really raunchy stuff, and it's horrible. And at 24, you really cannot curb that. But here's the good news. God can use anything. And, you know, there's a lot of old-time rockers that now are professing faith in Jesus. That's true. Right? Yeah. And so also, kids that really have that dress and that style, as they enter adult life, and remember, his brain is not fully developed yet, it starts to fall off. Because in the workplace, you can't really dress most places like a heavy metal rocker. So if he's
a drummer.
He's a what?
Drummer.
Okay. So he is in music. Okay. So
yes.
Yeah. So and also again, when you're in the music world, yes. Okay, that's going to come along with it, right? You could suggest that there are some rock bands that are Christian, and has he ever heard of those? But I would continue to try to connect with him, try to connect with his heart. Do not focus on the things that you don't like unless they are completely disruptive, but focus on a connection with him. And if he's moving forward in life and doing something productive, I mean, music is an industry. I have a son in music. It is an industry. And
but in this case, like, my husband is going to go to that concert. And I know he's kind of sad because I say, no, I'm not going. I'll wait for you in the hotel.
Okay.
But deep inside, I don't want him to go neither. So I don't know what to do.
Irish, I think allow him to go. I think it's good that your husband take an interest in your son. He doesn't have to like the music. He could put earplugs in if he wants to, okay? And you don't have to, like, you could too. Like, but you want to show your son that you're supporting him, even if you disagree with his choices, because that's a better stance than rejecting what he likes and pushing him away in the process.
And
go ahead.
Irish, I would hold your strong opinion about his music in particular, hold it loosely. I have also had a strong fear of hard rock, heavy metal. Yeah. My husband is a drummer in that very form of music. And to my surprise, Irish, I realized it's not all satanic.
Nope.
It's not all bad. In fact, there's some rockers, especially 80s music, that is actually great storyline, very clean. So it's not all bad. Now, if you've got proof with lyrics that are worshiping Satan, okay, then be concerned about your son's lyrics, stepson. But hold the opinion loosely, because that appearance and the heaviness of the music can be deceptive. It is not all bad.
You know, Irish, you asked the question about what to do, and you're talking about this event that's coming up. You know, lots of family members have different interests, and it doesn't require everybody to go and participate with what everybody else is doing. And you don't also have to hold an opinion to separate you. I think that's what, you were talking about, Jill. It's just, find the places to connect. But it's, if your husband wants to go and support him, go, honey, go support him. But know that I'm not either. If you go, you're probably going to take a good book and go find a park somewhere, or, do something that you're part of it, but you don't have to be totally involved with it. And I think the places where we can connect with our families can bring us so much closer, and we can appreciate the differences that we have with each other, because the idea isn't that we're all going to be the same.
Right.
And but at the same, you don't have to go along with stuff that you don't agree with. That makes sense. But
and if he were into classical music, would you be approaching this differently? Right?
Sure.
He is into music. If he's a drummer, he's got rhythm in his soul, right? And that's his craft, and it can evolve, right? And you can make a career out of it, right, Alice? What was that?
I'm praying for that.
Irish, my husband moved from a rock band whose name I would not pronounce on air into one day playing for our church.
Yeah.
Wow. What a surprising turn that took.
Yeah.
And it was years, and it was prayer, and it was withholding heavy criticism of what he was doing and looking for the good in it. Mm-hmm. But I actually want to ask you to reconsider whether or not you go. Because if there are some swear words thrown into the music, I don't think it's a sin to go and listen in order to make a deposit in relationship with your son. Now, if there's blatant evil, then it's probably wiser not to go. But put the question to God in prayer. Lord, would you have me go as a show of support for this son who, Irish, he probably needs your influence in his life by your actions less than your words? Ask God.
Mm-hmm.
My husband said that, yes.
Oh, interesting. Would you reconsider?
I will pray about it.
All right.
then.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you
we
so
were
Put
we
your
were so glad
earplugs
that
in.
you called us. Yeah,
Pipe in classical music in your ears while you're there.
we are so glad that you called us, Irish, and we are going to send you a copy of Dr. Jim Burns' book, Doing Life with Your Adult
very
Children.
good. Yep.
And you might need to keep your ears shut as well as your mouth, and that's the byline with that. Now, some of you already heard that Steve has started his sabbatical. You know, he's been leading this great group for 35 years, and he wanted to start off the year with some time away and some rest. And we're just so excited that he has this time. But while he's gone, I wanted you to revisit some of the great work that he's done. And so, Terry, why don't you cue up one of those New Life moments?
I'm Steve Arterburn with a New Life moment. Imagine my surprise when a non-Christian friend of mine in college informed me that I was an agnostic. You go to a Christian school, he said, but you're kind of agnostic, aren't you? Well, I was horrified. What do you mean? I stammered. Well, I just look at what you do, he replied. You don't seem to spend time doing things other Christians do, and you sure do a lot of things they'd never do. So I just assumed that you were not too sure what you believed. That means you're an agnostic. Well, we can't peer into the hearts of another person, yet our actions sometimes betray our hearts, don't they? It wasn't easy to be confronted with proof of my unbelief, but God used this unbeliever's conclusions to bring me back to Him. If you were tried of being a Christian, would the fruit of your life provide evidence in support of the charges? For some truth that counters the lies we believe, visit newlife.com. I'm Steve Arterburn, and thanks for listening to this New Life Moment.
You know, it's
So good.
so good. And moments like those are just, they're timeless, right?
Uh-huh.
I mean, it just is a reminder of how much Steve has brought truth to our lives and just a different perspective. Always willing to look at life in a different way. You know, if you heard something about anxiety this morning and you're anxious to call, don't be scared. We are supportive. We've got some great insight for you. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. And maybe if you are listening at a different time, call us Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 1 to 3, because we really want to help you get into your new life. And we've got lots of ways to help you do that. Whether it's an intensive, it's the radio program, could be an article on newlife.com. Whatever way it is, we want to help you get there. We'll be right back after this break, answering your calls.
When you give to the New Life Scholarship Fund, you're giving someone hope for a brighter future.
I was kind of in the closet and hid with my struggle. Your donation really made the difference, especially in my situation, because I ended up getting laid off from my job.
At the New Life Intensives, hurting people are able to begin a new path towards healing and freedom that has an effect on all of those around them.
I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. You know, I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. Their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To help hurting people to connect to the help they need, make your gift to the Scholarship Fund at newlife.com or by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE and specifying scholarships.
Someone called and sponsored me to come this weekend. Whoever that is, just know that you saved a life. Literally, you saved my life.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Dr. Heidi Summers on coaching.
A lot of people don't understand the difference between counseling and coaching. Coaches can help you with strategizing. Not everyone is in a crisis or recovering from a trauma. A lot of people just need help getting to where they want to be, and they don't know how to do that. And so it's helpful to have a third party come in to give objective feedback, set goals, create accountability, and help you walk out what your goals actually are.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches are intended to help you live in the present and goal set toward what it is you want for the future.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are going to go right to the calls, and we're going to continue to take calls at 1-800-229-3000.
Sorry, we're still laughing. We mentioned my husband's band name off air. It's a bad one.
And she cannot say it on air, and we're so glad it changed.
Well, okay.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, we're going to talk with Kip, who's calling us from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on WBYN, and we're so glad you called, Kip. How can we help you today?
Hi, ladies. Thank you for what you do.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
My question is, what is the connection between a porn addiction / lack of self-control and anger?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm asking is because I heard Steve one time make a statement. He said in all the 40 years that he's been a clinician, never once has he ever met a porn addict who didn't also have anger problems.
Yes.
And I never heard a follow-through, and I was wondering what the linkage is.
Would you tell us first, Kip, if you bravely would, how does the question apply to you personally, if at all, or family of origin?
Yeah, it sounds like I'm an angry porn addict. I get it. But the truth is, I'm doing a presentation, and actually, you guys helped encourage me to do that as well. I called a year ago, and I was very scared and inferiority complex, and I wasn't sure if I should proceed. And you ladies and Jackie Mack and Steve all encouraged me to do it, and I jumped in, and now I'm one of the presenters at a local biblical men's group, and I speak to 25 men. And
Great.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, one of the bullet points this week coming up concerns porn addiction and voyeurism. And I was trying to make the connection of what Steve said to me so I can teach it.
And do you see the connection in your group of men?
I personally don't. However, what's interesting, in preparing for the lesson, I looked up Genesis 4, where God is kind of scolding Cain.
Yes.
And chapter 4, verse 6, he starts off that whole conversation with a question. He says, Cain, why are you so angry? Mm-hmm. And I thought, boy, that's interesting.
And sin is crouching at his door, and if he doesn't master it, it will master him. Those verses fit perfectly, and I think you're right about the connection there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Right. Kip, I kind of think of it as layers of a cake, right? That as you lay down the layers, so you've got the anger, you've got then the lack of self-control, and then the porn addiction is kind of the frosting.
Okay.
But for a lot of men, anger is the easiest emotion. And so that's kind of their go-to emotion. But anger, and anger also is empowering. It feels much better than feeling inferior or feeling full of shame. But underneath, and my cake analogy is not the best, but underneath, all those layers are the real feelings that are fueling this. But all of the feelings that a person feels comes out in the anger and then gets acted out through the lack of self-control and the porn addiction. So it's a way to try to make oneself feel better and to kind of squelch the feelings, right? Just frost it over, make it look good, no problems here. When no, you go down the layers, it's kind of rotting at the bottom of the cake.
And
That
Kip,
makes sense.
porn as an addiction, if you just take porn out of that and just use the word addiction, we are looking for ways to numb the feelings that we have. And anger, like you said, Jill, it's easily accessible, but it's also covering up grief, sadness, trauma. These are all reactivities that occur. And I think one of the reasons why Steve talks about it in this connection is because of what Jill just said. Anger is that accessible emotion that men will go to and not really spend time understanding where is that coming from. Is it from past trauma? Is it from something that happened to me? And porn being the easily accessible and easy to hide initially. A lot of these guys, they can't go drinking and then go to work because then alcohol, it's just that it is an accessible addiction. And it's fed to them. Once you get that in your algorithm on your technology, it's going to continue to be presented to you as an option. So does that help clear the connection between anger and porn?
It really does. Yes, it very much makes sense.
I would add to it that when I've had the privilege of hearing men's stories and how porn use started, and you probably hear this from your group too, Kip, that so many men, and some women too, they found out that porn was a way, sexual pleasure was a way to escape the discord in their homes. And so to feel comforted and to have a distraction, that's one of the best, most powerful, easily accessible, and it works short term. It sure does. But it's a disordered emotional management system. And so I think of it like a soda can, pop can, as we Minnesotans say, that our emotions get shaken up every day. And when we have an immature coping system, the shooken up emotions keep building and building and building. And because there's not a healthy release, it will explode. And for men, that explosion tends to be anger. So it's an emotional immaturity because porn is the go-to rather than God's design of managing emotions.
Wow. Thank you.
Kip, hold on for just a second. We're going to talk to you in some of the ways to deal with the anger, because that's going to be a really important part of the process that, we help men with all the time. It's, you can feel the anger, but what are you going to do with it? If you're covering up with an addictive substance or habit, it's going to keep that hidden, and it's going to continue to be destructive. We'll talk to you right after this break. We're going to continue to take calls, 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were talking with Kip about the connection between anger and porn, and we described where that's coming from, but I wanted to give you some connections about what to do with that. Alice, do you want to begin?
Yeah, I would say God gives us 3 very specific ways to deal with it. First, we need a person of understanding who helps us to dig into, why am I turning this way? What were the stories early in my life that led me in this direction? So we need a person of understanding, and that might be one of our coaches, our New Life coaches. It could be a group. It can be from our Every Man's Battle communities that we have. The other is that we confess to other people so they can pray for us. And again, we need a community to be able to do that. And then we start to speak the truth of how we're feeling, but we do it with grace to the people around us, especially spouse or immediate family. And that's the way we resolve all those distressing emotions. It's by talking about it with people who care about us.
Mm-hmm. And so people of understanding would be people that are safe, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
That we can then bring those pieces of shame, those parts of shame in our lives, right? And as we disclose, we allow other people to respond differently than our original experiences, right? And to love us through it, and it just melts the shame away.
Do you know
it be considered an accountability partner?
It can be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It can be.
Absolutely.
Here's the challenge, though, and this is what we teach at Intimacy and Marriage. It's what Alice was referring to earlier today, is really being able to describe your insides, like what Jill just said. And you're going to need a feeling vocabulary. You're going to have the words to describe, because we don't naturally go there. We just feel anger. We don't, and we don't understand that the anger is actually hiding sadness or grief or disappointment or fear or guilt or a million other feelings. And so when we get to learn those words to describe ourselves inside, those accountability people, those trusted people are invaluable. And you know what, Kip? I'm excited to tell you that we just launched our Every Man's Battle podcast. It's free and it's available on all platforms. You can download it. You can tell the guys that you're leading. We give a new episode each week, and it's JJ West as well as Doug Barnes having conversations about all things with Every Man's Battle. And it's not a replacement, obviously, for the work we do at the workshop, the intensive, but we know that there are so many questions that men have in this journey of sexual integrity, and we want to be there for you. We're going to send you a copy of the Every Man's Bible, Kip, and we're just grateful that you called today.
And thank you for passing on the message. We'll be praying for you in this presentation. I mean, that's the extended mission of New Life. Not only that we help people who are listening to heal, but then that they pass that grace on to the next one. And that's what you're doing. Thank you, Kip.
That's right. Thank you, Kip, for calling. We're going to continue to take calls. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk to CB, who's calling us from Phoenix and listens on the app. And speaking of the app, you can download it too, wherever you get your apps. Thanks for calling, CB. How can we help you today?
How are you? Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm. We are well. Thank you for asking. Go ahead, Kip. CB.
I am actually calling today. I'm the stepmother of 2 young ladies that lost their mom to brain cancer when they were young. And there is also a son. So we have 3 children at home right now. They're older, but were very young when that occurred. So my question right now is, it seems as though over time, as things move along through their lives and they change, they're teenagers, the girls are teenagers, they're the 2 youngest, they're 16 and 19, and there just sometimes seems to be situations where they have bouts of sadness, and it seems like they're kind of revisiting that whole grief process again because of just something that might occur, throughout time. For example, the older daughter, she said to my husband, I'm just really sad today because it seems like I can't remember things about Mommy. And so I'm just wondering, as as a stepmom, what can I do that would be helpful to help them through that process?
And CB, I can hear the emotion in your voice.
Yes.
I love that you're tender towards their heart. This is a big deal. I just had one clarifying question for you. How old were you, or how old were they when you came in to their lives?
So they were 12 and 15, and our son was 18.
Okay. All right, Jill, what would you...
Years.
Well, and
What
then,
would you start
okay,
with?
so, but CB, how old were the girls when their mom passed away?
7 and 10.
7 and 10. Okay. Oh, so young, but old enough to remember, right? Which is nice, but young enough. I mean, they still needed her so much, and I love your heart of wanting to help them through this sadness, right? It's not uncommon as kids get through adolescence and are starting, your 19-year-old is now moving, out of high school and onto the next step. And that's often a time where kids will start to deal with what has transpired when they are young. And so I think, first of all, allowing them to talk about it. Like if they're saying, oh, I can hardly remember. Okay, well, let's think about it. What do you remember? And helping to maybe facilitate. And if there's anything that right, and certainly your husband has memories, well, let's talk about, do you remember this? Do you remember that? And allow them to kind of sit in their sadness. Don't try to rush it away. Because this is a time that's very important for them in their healing journey as they're entering into adulthood. And I think for your husband to, again, remind them that, okay, during those formative years, their mother was there, right? And some of what she instilled in them, they carry in the fabric of who they are, whether they remember or not. But I think, too, in their sadness, it might be a time, too, where they want to explore more with a therapist and kind of embark on a time of revisiting the grief in a more ongoing way.
Along that same line, too, Jill, I'm thinking of creative ways to celebrate her. Like, on her birthday, for example, that there would be something special that you always do. But I love the option to just, let's listen, remember her.
Remember together, yeah.
Yeah, so many times in grief, the people who have lost a loved one, that is the most frustrating part of their grief journey, is because all of a sudden the person who has died no longer exists, period. No one says their name. You can't,
like they're erased.
Exactly. And like you said, I wonder too about their journey and her illness, because that can also have a big impact, because if she was sick for a long time, or, what that journey was like for Dad. And the brother actually could be helpful in their remembering too. But I'd be interested to hear, CB, does that sound like something that you guys have tried, or does it feel a little bit too much?
Well, we actually, because I've only, been in this situation for a little over 5 years, probably dating, my husband for a couple years, and then we've just been married only 3 years. They're not quite as comfortable necessarily with me saying certain things. A lot of times they do go to him, and he'll, share that, and we'll pray about, those things and just see what we can do together, if anything. But we don't really bring up the topic either, which is something that is, for me, a little bit tricky. It just seems like some conversations probably need to happen. For example, one in particular, and I'm not sure how to deal with it, but my husband was talking about artwork, because we don't live in the house that they lived in when their mom was living. We moved from there. When we first got married, we were living in that house. So that house has been sold, and There were some paintings that we brought along, but since that time, they haven't been hung up there in the garage. And my husband was noticing that they have like a hint of mildew odor and that kind of thing. And so he was thinking we may need to get rid of them. So I don't know how that whole conversation can happen, because that middle daughter did say, oh, we don't have any paintings in the new house. Why don't we hang up some of these? And those would be the ones her mom had chosen, and that her mom liked.
Yeah. That's tricky, CB, but we're going to go, you can hear the music. We'll go to a break, but we'll talk about pathways forward, because you bring up a good point that, you are feeling all of this, yet you're the new person in the family dynamic, but it doesn't mean that you don't have a voice. We got to find the way to connect in a way that's healing and helpful for everybody. We're just hold on. CB will be back after this break. If you're watching us on NRB, we're so grateful that you are there. You can go to liferecoverytoday.net and follow us there as well. We'll be right back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit its addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with CB, who is in a blended family where the mom of the adult children or pre-adult children, there's a teenager, she passed away. And so just navigating those tricky just challenges of grief. Grief is tricky. It can be, and it's just a part of it. But Alice, I would love to hear what you have to say.
Can I just add one more comment? A couple of things. CB, you were talking about these paintings, and I think we all agreed. Let's clean those paintings up. At the very least, they are something the girls can take with them, or find some spot in the house where they can have parts of their mom, because that's what they're craving. And I love that you don't appear to be, threatened by any of the memories of their mom. And even though it's awkward, perhaps, for them to talk to you, you might just put that out on the table, that you could understand that you might not be their first choice of someone to talk to, but that you would really like to know about her, because you want to be able to see her in them, right? And if your husband has photographs and things, that's another vehicle where people could sit around and talk about the photographs as a way of doing that and bringing her into the mix, because she is a part of it.
CB, you and your husband might both give the girls and your son permission. Hey, we can talk about her anytime, anywhere. It's always okay to bring her up. And how would you girls like us to respond when you're feeling sad? And you might need to be prepared, CB, that they, as you've kind of implied, they may not want you. You may seem like an obstacle to them, that you're replacing their mom's memories. As they're losing memories of her, they're gaining memories of you. And that's not really fair to you, but it would make sense if you can feel like an obstacle to them, perhaps, in the grieving process. So giving them permission and letting them tell you what they want from you when they're sad can open that up a little bit more. Your husband sounds like he's kind of quiet about her, and he may not know how to handle grief. And our Intimacy in Marriage weekend, it teaches how to handle emotions as a married couple, and it gives exactly the kind of skills you can then apply to your relationship with your children and his relationship with his children. And that's coming up in February. So we want to invite you that you might be part of that, because you'll learn in depth how do we deal with these kind of tricky emotions.
Well, and I love that idea too, Alice, because I'm wondering, CB, about, your husband's journey of grief recovery. And, grief is something we're all going to experience, but it's very individual how we experience it. And it's impacted by history as far as how we saw it dealt with, as well as our own capabilities. We're going to send you a copy of the Life Recovery Workbook on Grief, and I think that will be a good primer, as you go forward. Does that help, CB? Is that?
Yes.
Well,
yes, that definitely does.
Well, and let me just mention, it's been 5 years, because when you were talking about how her husband perhaps has grieved, a lot of times, CB, men do not grieve until 5 years into a next relationship. And I was trying to do the math, and it sounds like maybe you started spending time with him after, closely after his wife passed away, and now you've been married, and now you're at the 5-year mark. And this is, he may be afraid of his own grief too, and it may be parallel to what his girls are experiencing.
So true.
So it's good that you're talking about it.
Has he done his grief work, CB?
So actually, when we were going to the same church. We met somewhere else, but we were going to the same church. So there were places that I was going. Actually, his late wife died from cancer, and I'm a cancer survivor. So I immediately pointed him to the grief sessions that they have at the cancer center, and you're able to go to that cancer center regardless of who you are if cancer has impacted your life. So I definitely pointed him in that direction before I ever accepted any date or anything like that from him. I wasn't seeking that. I just, when I heard of his situation, I said, you really may want to tap into the resources at this center for yourself and your family, because I think they do a phenomenal job in helping people through, those kind of situations. So he did some work with people there, and he did, from what he's told me, processed some of his grief at that time and through church. And he and the kids have also been through counseling at the church. I don't really think it's been extensive, prior to, him meeting me, because he met me probably about 4 years, maybe, about 4 years after she passed when we met. So there probably was more work they could have done. And I think at this point I'm realizing that there's probably always going to be ongoing work to be done.
And CB, that is exactly the point. In all of our journeys, grief will come like waves. We'll get some work done, and then something else will pop up, and I didn't realize that was still in there. The idea isn't that we forget our loved ones or that's when grief is resolved. It's really incorporating that into our day-to-day lives. We were impacted because this person loved us, we loved them, and we have feelings about them throughout our lifetime. I don't know, Jill or Alice, do you agree with that process, that grief is just, it takes what it takes?
Right. And I think it's important for the girls to know that moving on is okay. It doesn't mean they don't care about their mom, that they're having new chapters of their life. So again, you know, she's been a huge part of their life. Of course they want to remember, but part of it is the farther they get away from it, their life takes on, you know, a different look with different people in this next chapter. And that is part of grieving and moving on.
And life milestones can be new pain points where, gosh, I'm going off to college now. What would my mom have done if she had been here? And so it's a whole new aspect to the grief that didn't need to be talked about or processed before. But oh my goodness, now it does.
Right. Or marriage or kids, all that down the road.
Right. I love that, just that, CB, that you are present for them and that you're giving them the support that they absolutely will need along life's journey. You know, if you have any challenges with grief, like what CB has brought up today, that maybe you haven't decided, you know, I'm going to address this, I'm going to do something about it. That may also, you know, go in full circle back to the first thing that we talked about, the anxiety that comes from making those changes are part of that as well. And, you know, we love to help you. We want you to get through those kind of, you know, challenges. What would be, you know, we talked about the 333, but when we're talking about grief, there's going to be some sadness that comes up, right? And so when the sadness comes up, how can we address that in that moment?
Well, it's really allowing and accepting. None of us want to get messy. We don't want to cry. We don't want to be vulnerable, or few of us do. And yet, tears are God's emotional clean-out process. They actually help that emotional stress be released through the content of the tears. And it's even more effective when it's in the presence of a loving, caring person who doesn't rush us through, but will linger with us in the lament. That is how we move through grief in a healthy, God-designed way.
And we live in a culture that we're not supposed to ever be sad unless it's in a movie, right? Like we're, you know, where it's a play on emotions. And God created us with a whole range of emotions. And when we can express them, it's part of our healing journey. We have a calls on hold, so hold on. We'll get to you in the next hour. But if you have a question, give us a call, 1-800-229-3000. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Jill. And thank you, callers. We're glad you joined us.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way.